welcome back to Naps and Taps, episode 8, I'm pretty sure. Marcus, what's up?
I've been hitting a downswing lately, poker term throw out there. I don't know, just nothing's been going right. I've been, just motivation gone, self-respect gone, self-esteem nowhere to be found. It's just,
Are we talking like making music, your life,
everything,
or both?
Everything, it's like, I'm almost running out of songs to sing now. There's only so many songs that I like, and I recently decided to sort of switch up genres a little bit. I feel like me pigeonholing myself to, let's do like grunge, alt rock. It's like I'm 20 years too late for that, and I'm like downloading these beats. These like there are a lot of producers, just uploading free stuff for all rappers or singers to use, untagged. They call it. I don't know. Because every producer has a tag. Like a beat, like DJ Khaled. So every beat starts with something like that.
Yeah.
So when producers put out free stuff, they put it untagged, so people can just download it and use it. And I've been trying to write like lyrics to beats, which I find extremely challenging. It's so much harder. I don't know why. For me, like when I'm writing to like rock songs, for example, I feel like they're more structured and they have more sort of a direction, and I can like write more easily. Mm-hmm. But with beats, because it's just so like monotonous, that I almost can't settle on what to write because I can just go anywhere. So I don't know where to go now.
It's kind of one of those things. I don't know how I've never been a producer, so I'm just guessing, but it seems like rock music and grunge, it almost seems like the music comes and then lyricism is worked around that.
Exactly.
Whereas like I think it seems like hip hop production, and I'm just completely guessing here and being an armchair expert / guesser, but it seems like they'd lay out that blank canvas and then the vocalist would be like, well, here's kind of where I want to ebb and flow with a song, and then like, you do hear a finished hip-hop song, the instrumental can seem like a bit of a loop, but it'll change up a little, and like hooks and things will be thrown in, but it kind of seems like that's driven by what the vocalist wants to do as opposed to the music actually driving what the vocalist does. So it could be an interesting challenge for you to start thinking of how to drive things a little more.
Maybe I need to sort of readjust how like I write to different genres.
It's certainly an interesting change up to like, you've gone from grunge to like trying out some instrumentals, but I guess while you find your voice, why not give everything a nudge?
It was basically my girlfriend's idea, saying that like, she's just been like this Tinkerbell on my shoulders. I don't know. I don't know. I know people who like your type of music. They're saying it very gently. She's obviously being very sensitive about it.
There are plenty of people who still like grunge out there, though. But there's something as an artist to try out some new things. Why not? How's the training been going for you?
I don't know if it's the music affecting my training or my life affecting the music affecting my training. But this past week, it doesn't sound like much, but I took a day off. But from someone like me who doesn't have much going on, taking a day off of training is a lot. So I last week I did 2 days, and I just really couldn't compel myself to do it. I mean, I'm spending a lot of time with my girlfriend now. Not that it's a problem, but I find it as kind of excuse to, I can't do anything, I can't go out, I can't go to training because I'm spending time with my girlfriend. So I'm just kind of fucking myself over.
Have you read The War of Art?
The Art of War?
No, The Art of War is like the Sun Tzu book, or however you say his name. But no, it's like this famous author wrote a book about like motivating yourself as an artist.
Oh shit!
And he called it The War of Art as a play on words. It's the famous The Art of War. It's like that's his play on words. I just bought it last week and I finally picked it up and started reading it. I'm only about 30 pages in, but it's quite a thin book though. But I'll lend it to you when I'm done with it and finish it myself. But it talks about
a book like I need.
That talks about like kind of like all the different things that stop you from pursuing your creative goals, and he calls them like different forms of resistance, and he basically like the whole, it's done in chapters, but the first chapter is to basically he uses, it seems like, I haven't finished it yet so I shouldn't be talking about it too much, but it seems like he's aiming up to like use resentment as like a powerful tool. He like wants you to see like all these things that make you procrastinate and not pursue your dreams as your enemy. He like describes resistance as evil and like a force that's always going to be there, and he talks about like all the different examples that things will stop you from, like, you know, the whole like, oh, I'm too late, or oh, I should be in this lane, or oh, okay, you know, just all the different excuses.
But resentment towards those things?
Yeah, he tries to make you resent all the things in your life that provide, like, he calls them resistance, and like, you know, he's talking about like...
Who is this guy? Like, is he what kind of artist is he? Writer?
Yeah, he's a writer. I can't actually remember his name. I will see how good this microphone is, because the book is in my bag. The first time I've ever gone off camera.
We'll give the book a plug.
Yeah, as you can see, Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art. As you can see, it's kind of got like the rose coming from concrete. Quite a cool photo, right?
This is like the perfect book to land on my lap.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'll lend it to you when I'm done with it, but I think I bought it for like $15-17 if you can't be bothered waiting for me.
Where'd you
got it from Indigo and the...
No, but where'd you get the idea to get the book like that?
I think it got mentioned on Rogan's podcast or some of the podcasts. But like, you can see like...
Yeah, Rogan and a lot of people are now like really big on motivating, and you know who Gary Vee is?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
But like, you see how, like, I should show the camera actually, like, instead of just being like, you know, some books are just, instead of just being a lot of that, some pages in their part of resistance, he on purposely makes like, it's one page because it's like one idea per page, like resistance and procrastination, for example. Resistance recruits allies. That's like all the people in your life that, because they're not chasing their dreams themselves, they don't even do it on purpose, but they'll be subconsciously be like oh, you'll never make it, or like, you know, just the whole, like, you've probably heard like your friends say, you're never going to be a famous, like, if you've said, oh, I can't go out tonight, I'm going to be like recording some songs, and your friends are like, you're never going to be a musician anyway, just come out with us. Well, why would you miss out on a Friday night?
That's why I don't have any friends.
Well, exactly, they're resistance, according to this book. So I'm glad so that's maybe, that would help that I've moved to Toronto, where I don't know that many people yet. All the resistance is back home in New Zealand.
Interesting.
But yeah, so it's a good book. I'll lend it to you after I'm done with it, or just go buy your own.
What do you think is your biggest resistance? Going to so many fucking sports games, that could be
probably. Like,
every time I see you on Instagram, you're on like, well, dude, what does this guy got the time and the money? What the fuck?
You know what? I told a guy at Toronto BJJ, I was like, oh, I'll see you on Thursday. I'm going to train on Thursday. And I've got so many sporting events lined up that I forgot. Like, I'm actually going to the Blue Jays home opener on Thursday. And I've said to this dude, oh yeah, I'll see you on Thursday. We'll train. And actually, that was on one of my pre-prepared notes. Shout out to Nick, the latest blue belt at Toronto BJJ.
Oh, yeah, I know. The guy's got like a chest tattoo. Right?
Yeah, I think that's the same dude. But you remember on a podcast a while ago, I was telling you about how we were talking about all the promotions and the recent promotions, and I was like saying, oh, you know the stocky dude, blah. And I was saying that he was still a white belt after the annual, and I was surprised that he didn't get promoted.
Oh, yeah.
That's the dude. He got his.
Excellent.
So I was talking about him, and shout out to him because he is one of the handful of people who's actually been on board with this podcast since day one.
Really?
Yeah.
He knows about...
Yeah. So
has he checked out every episode?
I'm not sure. He's checked out most of them, to be honest. Like, and because he hadn't actually seen the one where I mentioned him last time, and then I saw him in the changing room, so I was like, oh, I mentioned you on the last episode, and he went back and watched it, especially, and found it. So he was over the moon, which was quite cool to see, because I've now seen all three emotions of getting that blue belt through sort of the three of us, if you include him in that triangle. Because I remember, like, the annual, you were like,
I better fucking...
Yeah, you were like...
self-entitled.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, expecting it, you know.
I wasn't going to say self-entitled, but I won't correct you if that's how you feel it was. But you were like, I better get my blue... You know, you were like, kind of like, I felt like I've put in the work, and I want this, and I deserve it.
I feel like I was owed it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as I've said 2 or 3 times on this podcast already, and how I was in the time when I got handed my blue belt, I was kind of like, you guys sure? I might have someone else's blue belt here. Like, do you guys want to check?
And what was Nick's reaction?
Coach Winning. His one was like probably actually that reaction people should have. He was like, yeah. Like, he was like high on adrenaline. He was so happy, but he was like. But he wasn't like me. He was kind of like, are you sure? He was like, oh, I've put in the work, and like he puts in, like, he's like you. He watches hours of videos outside, off the mats, as well as training. And so he was like over the moon, wrapped, couldn't be happier. And he was like, And even then, he got it after the first class, and he was like, "Oh, I kind of want to go upstairs, but he just says like, I've got so much adrenaline running through me that I don't think I'd take any of it in." He just wanted to go home, see his girlfriend, be like, "Fuck yeah, got the belt," and like, you know, have a little bit of a, I don't know how much you can celebrate on a Monday, but he just wanted to kind of. Yeah,
it's a big leap to be out of the white belt. You know?
Yeah,
like the blue belt really is the only belt that I care about.
Yeah,
like I want to be a black belt and all that, but I was like, oh, like breaking out of white belt seems like the biggest achievement for me.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. It'll always feel like the next one for me because I kind of always have felt that like purple's probably the one. Like because people say white belt is like, you know, white belts you're just learning the basic movements, and like even a blue belt, I've read it on Reddit somewhere, and then I've heard someone else say it in the gym, and it kind of resonated with me that like
blue belt is just a better white belt.
Well, yeah, but they kind of say that blue belt is like, okay, you've learned all the basic movements, which is what white belt is, and now you're actually ready to start learning Jiu-Jitsu. And then purple is kind of like, I guess you might know some Jiu-Jitsu now.
Yeah.
So
start developing your style.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't remember who was saying to me at the gym, and I get confused because there's so many damn Gracies that who knows which one said what.
There's a new Gracie every 30 seconds on YouTube.
Exactly, but they were saying that whichever one of the Gracies it was who said this was like, oh, if you don't think you're going to do Jiu-Jitsu forever and you're kind of like in the early belts and you're like, oh, I just want to get to a certain belt and then I'm going to stop. Don't just be the white belt who stops the day he gets blue. Like if you are going to at some point stop, just stop at purple and be like, because then at least you kind of learned some Jiu-Jitsu or something. So I don't know, whatever, but that's what that's kind of, so I'm kind of like, when I get a purple I'll be like, oh well, I might actually know some Jiu-Jitsu now. But
I hear the jump from blue to purple is a lot longer than from white to blue.
Well, that kind of like, that seems right to me, because have you seen that poster by the second floor gym where it shows like the it's like, it shows like the IBJJF like I think they're actually not guidelines, I think it's mandatory, like blue to purple you've got to do 2 years, which is like and that's like the minimum, but I think the minimum for like white to blue is like a year or a year and a half or something. So the guidelines are shorter, and then from purple to brown the minimum is like only like a year or something. I'd be surprised. I don't know how many people could actually do it faster than that, but that's how. I think the only person I know about is like, because I added them all up and I was like, because you know BJ Penn went white to black, and didn't he do it in 5?
I think it was 3.
No, but either way, that I was looking at it, and if he did it in 3, then he did it at a McDojo, because the minimum for IBJJF, if you add up those timelines from starting BJJ to having a black belt, would be 4.5. That would be if from each belt they follow your minimum, it would be 4.5 would be the minimum you could do that. And he did it. Well, I thought he did it in 5, but
I thought
I'm going to Google it, and then I'm going to tell which one is. I'm going to put a little graphic saying which one of us is correct.
Okay.
And if he did do it in 3, then shout out to the McDojo who gave it to him.
Yeah, well,
I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't call somewhere with someone who can fuck me up trained.
The thing is, it is BJ Penn.
Yeah.
So I think there are exceptions. There are outliers.
And also, I don't know whether he did any. I can't remember whether he did any wrestling before he did like BJJ or anything like that. But yeah, I think even like getting your black belt in that 4.5 year minimum would make you an outlier. To be honest, like
that's
kind of, yeah. I can't think of too many people who do that. Like, you know, I'm talking about how I'm surprised to have my blue, and there's like dudes who have been blue for ages on one stripe upstairs, and they're like, yeah, I was surprised too, and now here I am, still like, you know, this and it is what it is. But
there's no parade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No one threw me. No one closed Young Street for me. For my blue belt.
How's the comedy?
It's going alright. Yeah, like I say, just been doing the Second City course. That's been really worthwhile still. Like I've been coming up with material quicker. Just some of the simple tips they've given on writing, like, you know, doing mind maps and like free writing and stuff like that, are things that I'd never sort of how I'd approached my writing before, and also just the idea of coming up. We've done some exercises about coming up with one-liners, and I never thought I was a one-liner guy. I thought I was a long, boring story guy, but I find it kind of, I come up with one-liners a lot better than I thought I could, and then coming up with one-liners kind of also then, some of them then can become premises, and that leads you to more writing development. So yeah, I'm kind of like churning out stuff. It's been.
I feel like you're more. You could use your like monotoneness and your kind of like. You know how different comics are different styles, right?
Yeah.
Stephen Wright.
I've never heard of Steve. I don't know.
He's like a very famous one-liner comedian. Like he's just really monotonous and just kind of like he appears to be boring.
Yeah.
You know, but his jokes like those really underselling, underwhelming, sarcastic type comedians. You know, like Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
Not exactly because Mitch is blind. So I don't think he's doing that intention. But like. Maybe there are not that many famous one-liner type comedians, but
I've been kind of like mixing it up. Like, you know, one-liners are one thing, but like a lot of the bits I do are kind of like either stories or you can see they're framed in paragraphs. And like I am actually working on a bit about BJJ, and I don't want to actually give it away on camera because unlike some of the material I burnt last time, and there's some material I'll burn this time, I actually want to keep this to do on stage in the future. But that one, the structure of it, instead of like really it being paragraphed, it's like still on one topic, and the lines kind of go somewhere. So it's not strictly one-liners, but it is like on the topic of BJJ, it's like a line, then a line, then a line, then a line, and like some of them kind of lead or relate to each other, but it's like a line. You know, it's basically like almost like a myth. It's kind of a story, but kind of told in like one-liner form.
I think maybe for like the open mic stage or the open mic scene, telling stories might be a better way to go than one-liners, because the audience is so sparse that a lot of times you tell a one-liner, there are a lot of like gaps. You know, there's just a lot of dead air, dead silence. But if you tell a story, even if there's no one laughing, you're telling the story. Yeah. You know? That's how I approach.
I'm going to start recording myself more because one of the teachers I had last week had this really good idea that I haven't actually started yet, but he says, record yourself and then sit down on your computer and start typing word for word yourself and hit enter each time you get a laugh. And then you'll see like over the chunks where you get like lines where you're getting laughs.
That's exactly how I did it.
And if you see a chunk that's too big, then you're like, oh, I need to work on something here because here's my kind of dead air. But I kind of find for the open mics that if I just have, I don't want to tell a story for the whole 5 minutes though, like I kind of want 1.5 minute bits because I find that like with such a varied audience who doesn't know you, if you find people aren't replying to it,
then you're stuck.
Then you're stuck in that 5 minutes. And actually, yesterday, speaking of, in a roundabout way, I kind of wanted to start the podcast with this, but this actually leads me back to you sent me a text saying we should mention Christchurch on this. And we don't really need to travel. Everyone would have seen the news by now about what happened in my home country. Shout out to the people of Christchurch. I'm saying shout out this whole episode like some bad 90s like R&B radio DJ. I've just realised, but I actually did some stand-up on not the actual subject itself, because innocent people getting shot just for being who they are and practicing a religion is obviously not funny at all, but I did have like 5 minutes of a stand-up thing.
I think ever since you broke up with your girlfriend, your comedy has gotten a little darker, which is interesting. Which is great, because before you broke up with your girlfriend, you were kind of like this kind of wholesome, you know, kind of suit wearing Seinfeld type. Oh, like, what's the deal with her? But now you're just gone dark. Last time you were joking about something.
I was
Michael Jackson. Exactly,
right?
Just straight to the gutter. I like it.
Well, the thing is, I haven't found my voice yet. As they say, if someone says what kind of comedian are you, I don't really know. But in terms of like dark comedy or shocking comedy, I don't sort of like. I still don't see myself as someone who's going to be deliberately dark or try and be like a shock jock radio DJ who's just going to like go for the shock value just for the sake of provoking and trying to get like attention and hits out of it. But I still never saw myself as someone who was going to like be too scared to tackle a subject matter either. Be like, no, that's maybe when I very first started out, it was just a case of not even having the stage confidence to do any comedy at all. But now that I'm starting to get comfortable in front with actually doing comedy. I'm not afraid to go to dark issues, but I'm also like I'm not like deliberately looking to it either. But anyway, now that I can kind of burn the material again, because especially by the time this podcast comes out, because if I'm going to my comedy course tomorrow. Today's Tuesday. I'm going to my comedy course tomorrow.
Probably the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. I probably won't get to edit it until the weekend. We'll be almost 2 to 3 weeks removed away from this Christchurch stuff by the time I next hit a mic after that. But basically, like I was talking about how at the moment I'm like, I was on the bus on the way to work when I was like flicking through my Twitter feed, and I was like, holy shit, oh my god, I'd never expect this to happen in New Zealand. It's not, and like reading about the bad news back home, and like I work as like.
When was the last time New Zealand had something like that?
It's never had anything on that scale. Like the biggest thing to that before that would have been less than 10 people. There was 2 kind of incidents where both in the lower South Island, further south than Christchurch, one incident where a guy kind of went crazy in his own community with like a kind of, and it wasn't anything like a military style weapon, he kind of went crazy with like a sort of single shooter or something, but still managed to kill a bunch of people because the community was quite remote and it took police a long while to get out there. And the other one is a highly contentious one. Like there's this guy who's still kicking around in New Zealand who his story is he went out for a paper run, and while he was out for his paper run, his dad killed the rest of the family, and the dad did it while the guy was out because the dad was like, oh, I want to stay.
His father?
Yeah. Well, this is the story that the guy who's still alive and got released. I could spend the whole podcast going into David Bain, but like the one story is easier. It's Aramoana, and a guy went crazy, shot a bunch of people in his community, still less than like 10 people, maybe half a dozen or something, and that one was pretty clear cut who it was. And then the second one is David Bain, and New Zealand is still reasonably divided into camp David Bain is innocent versus camp David Bain is obviously guilty as fuck. What are you up to? But so everyone else in David Bain's family died, immediate family, like 5 or 6 people. And the story, David Bain's defence was, I was off doing a paper run while this happened. It's a murder-suicide. My father was the one who killed everyone else, then killed himself. And he got locked up for a long time, and he still professed his innocence, and he got released from prison like slightly earlier because he eventually got cleared through like the Supreme, whatever, how we're Commonwealth nation, he eventually got cleared from when it goes all the way to like whatever the court in the UK is that oversees the rest of the Commonwealth. But he still spent about 10 to 12 years in jail, and now they're talk of like, anyway, that's a whole other subject matter entirely when we should be talking about Christchurch and all this other rubbish. But
do you know Jesse Smollett? Have you heard Jesse? All the charges against Jesse has been dropped.
Really?
Yeah, all of them. He's a free man.
Well, I hope his acting and whatever he goes into next is better than his. Hopefully, his acting is better than his storytelling. But yeah, so anyway, the Christchurch thing, I had like a bit. I was basically like on my way to work, and like my job as a concierge is to talk about the same thing 100 times a day.
What do you have to talk about?
Well, whatever's happening. Like most of the time, I talk to people.
Oh, you mean just to talk? Okay.
Most of the time, I'll talk about the weather 100 times a day, and people don't realise that I'm bored to death because I've already had that conversation 100 times today.
You gotta run your material on these people. This is the golden opportunity.
Some of them I do. Some of them just aren't suitable for running material by. But when I was on my way to work, I'm reading about this horrible, tragic incident, and one of the first things that flashes into my head is like, oh, great, I'm going to have to talk about terrorism 100 times today. And like the line I deliver on stage is, why do all these bad things always happen to me? And so on and so forth. But, I talk about how the shooter was actually an Australian, and how whenever you think there's a bad New Zealander, it's actually an Australian. What else there's like, and how the weird thing about how like you've seen it, like you saw how well our Prime Minister handled the situation. She got like people around the world loved her for that, and they saw how
she's very young.
Yeah, she's like my age, and what the fuck am I doing with my life?
Wow.
Exactly. And people were just like, oh, I love New Zealand. Your people are so kind. They saw how the community rallied around. They're like, oh, your communities are so good to each other, and they saw the love pouring out as a result, and they saw the Prime Minister handling that. And like I had about a dozen people sort of say, I really want to visit New Zealand, and I'm like, are we going to be the first nation to get like a tourism boost from like a horrific incident of terrorism? It's, you know, I guess what they say, that old cliche of all publicity is good publicity, whatever. And you know, talk about slacktivism. That whole incident reminded me of slacktivism a lot. You know how people will put like those little border frames on their Facebook profiles, but they don't change their original profile.
The colors.
Yeah, they just
filter, like a filter.
Or like, you know, it has like that little like, you know, for some people, sometimes it's a flag.
Remember when France got fucked up?
Yeah.
When Paris.
But people never change their original photos, so they're trying to be like, I'm showing sympathy for this like cause, but their original photo is still like a photo of them like throwing up on their shoes at someone's bachelor party.
Yeah.
It's like, Muslims don't drink. Like, come on, Chad. Like, you're showing a photo of you hitting a beer bong here, and you know, in support of this non-drinking religion. Did you hear about Egg Boy? You get introduced to him?
Oh no, what's that?
Egg Boy was that Australian teenager who cracked the...
Okay,
Yeah, talked a little bit about him.
Yeah.
Egg Boy got interviewed about, like... He broke his silence 2 days ago, or 1 day ago. He got interviewed about his motivation for doing it, and I was like, surely this should have been the shortest interview ever. So like, why'd you crack the egg on that guy? Because he was a racist arsehole who victim blamed a bunch of innocent dead people. So I cracked an egg on him. I was like... How did we come up with another 5 minutes for that interview?
Was he victim blaming, or was he saying that like to prevent stuff like that from happening again, you gotta close the borders?
He was saying that, but that is kind of victim blaming. Like the Australian politician has always been anti-Muslim immigration in Australia, and then a bunch of Muslims got shot in New Zealand, and the Australian politician was like, see what happens when people are scared of Muslim immigrants? A bunch of innocent Muslims get shot. Could have been prevented by not letting
by having fewer Muslims.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of protecting people,
so he's like,
get them out of here.
So he's like, instead of being like, he's like, and he also said something along the lines of, sure, the Muslims were the innocent people this time, but think of all those bad terrorist Muslims. And I'm like, yeah, but...
He said that?
Yeah, he pretty much said, I think he said something along the lines of, yeah, they were the victims this time, but a lot of the other times they've been the perpetrators. And it's like, this is an exact example of the shoe being on the other foot. Like, we've seen terrorism incidents with one bad Muslim out of a large community, and now we've seen a terrorism incident with one bad white guy out of a large community, and I'm trying to say, I'm a good white guy, don't blame me for this white guy's action, but this Australian's busy going, but don't let all these dead innocent Muslims make you forget about maybe one bad one. You know? So yeah, I'd crack an egg on that guy's head too.
It's always the same story with like I wonder what goes through these white guys' minds when they do they think like, oh wait, I'm becoming, like, do they just become a school not a school shooter or a terrorist, or do they see the pattern? Like,
no, I don't think they ever stop to be like, actually shit, I might be the bad guy now.
Yeah, because you know, like, he had his manifesto, right? Like, the nation's getting polluted and all that shit. But he's not the first person to write a manifesto like that.
Yeah.
You know, he's not the first person to think like that. Yeah, you know, I'm just wondering, like, before somebody carries out such a big, catastrophic thing, do they not think about it? No. Like, what goes through their mind?
I don't know what goes through their mind. I think in that guy's case, a whole lot of crazy goes through his mind.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by serial killers and terrorists. You know, all thanks to Netflix.
Yeah,
it's just fucking non-stop true crime stuff. You know.
Yeah, so, it's kind of like
for the feeble mind of the struggling lonely artist, it's very attractive.
I'm gonna have to stop coming around here by myself and getting that attractive to you. But yeah, it's weird how it almost like. I wouldn't want to say normalized, but it almost makes these like creepy real life people seem like movie characters, or this like Netflixing of them. That said, I don't actually watch a lot of those documentaries, but it was like, you know, you saw footage of 9/11 and I was just like, that looks like a movie to me. Like, it doesn't really look like, you know, real life, which is...
Yeah, after so many things happening, you just feel kind of desensitized, right?
Yeah.
Like, another school shooting. Another terrorist.
Yeah, this one like shook me up a little because it was, you know, The lunatic who did it said that he picked New Zealand because...
You're right, because he was Australian, he went to New Zealand.
Yeah, he's Australian, went to New Zealand, but he said he picked New Zealand because, like, New Zealand does have that image of safety. He wanted the world to, like, live in fear. He wanted to be like, oh, this is the one safe place. I'm going to prove to you that nowhere's safe from, like, this random terrorist stuff. But funny thing is, though, like, well, it's not funny. It's, you know how, like, 9/11 obviously permanently changed America in a lot of ways. Like, you still have to, like, I haven't actually been, I hadn't visited America before 9/11, but I heard of, like, how airport security just completely got turned on its head, and, like, you know, a lot of shit has just permanently changed and will never go back. The thing about New Zealanders are just so damn relaxed, and, like, I've told you the saying, she'll be right, haven't I? Like, it's an expression we have, which is like, oh, it'll be okay, it'll be fine. We have so much of a she'll be right attitude that I almost guarantee that it probably almost extends to, like, even acts of terror. Like, it's probably going to shake us up and make us think about things for a month or two. And you know how before this incident we were like, oh, it'll never happen in New Zealand. Terrorism is something that's happened overseas. We'll probably be on, like, high alert for a month or so, and then New Zealanders will quickly slip back into she'll be right. They'll be like, as if terrorism's going to happen twice in New Zealand. No chance. She'll be right. Yeah. Let's go back to
what
it.
What about the gun control policies? Do you think that's going to change or be affected?
The New Zealand did already change their gun laws in the wake of it. Like 6 days later, they'd, like, banned a bunch of weapons, which, to be fair, shows you, you know how there are just laws that you don't know. Like, I thought those weapons were already illegal in New Zealand, but I think you needed, like, a special license or something to buy them. Like, you need a gun license for small guns, but then you need a special license to even get these ones. And I think the government's just decided to, the government's just outlawed them entirely. They're even introducing a buyback program for the existing guns in the market of that variety. And then after a certain period of time, once the buyback program's over and the amnesty has run out, then it's just going to be completely illegal for you to have one, even if you previously had the license to own one. So...
Yeah, I have a bad feeling that something bad might happen to Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a van attack here and the shooting on the Danforth, but, like, what sort of I hope you're wrong, but but yeah, so I mean, I'm with it. I think I don't see any cause for for a person who isn't in the military to have a gun of that type. Like, you can't even hunt with it, not if you want to eat the meat. Like, you're just going to be, I prefer, like, my elk or whatever it is else that Joe Rogan's made trendy this week to be served to me without bullets laced through it.
Is there a big hunting community in New Zealand?
Yeah.
Sounds like
there is
the place. The place to go.
I've never, like, been hunting myself because I'm a city kid, but you know, obviously, like, even some city people will drive out to places and go hunting, but especially people who live more in country or rural areas love hunting. But a lot of guns that are more useful for hunting are still completely legal, so they should be fine in theory. And, like, you get a few people moaning on, like, discussion boards of, I want a gun for this, or I'm a collector of this. It's like, fuck, if your hobby, like, can be that dangerous to the regular citizenry if it gets in the wrong hands, so get a new fucking hobby. Like, I've always got no incentive. Come train BJJ with me if you're mad that your guns got taken away. Get a new hobby. Do you have anything else you want to talk about on Christchurch, or are you like...
On Christchurch, I feel like you already mentioned all the important things.
Yeah, I'm pretty much, like, I think it's an old topic. I couldn't really, being that this is our first podcast after it came back, I couldn't, and, like I said, I made light of the fact that one of my comedy, right, one of the teachers at Second City, like, gave us the example of if you see someone falling over at the subway, on the subway, don't look at that. You'll find the funny stuff in their reactions. So,
in whose reactions?
In the reactions of all the people seeing it. Yeah. So obviously, like, just to one more time further disclaim, my heart absolutely goes out to all the families affected, and like I said before, I absolutely don't think that was funny. So when I said that I did stand up inspired by it, it was inspired by, it was bits about my reaction to it, other people's reaction to it, Egg Boy's reaction to it. Yeah, terrorism isn't funny, and heart goes out to all the family and the affected members of the community, and big up to all my fellow Kiwis for like showing some love to the Muslim community and rallying it around and helping those affected. So, yeah, that's it. Other topic I had written down. Speaking of people who watch it, this is kind of just a little bit of fan interaction. This one I shouted out Nick before. Now my buddy Rob from back home has actually watched us a few times. He's a bit of a basketball guy, and he mentioned on my Facebook when I released 2 episodes ago, and I forgot to bring it up the last one. He's like, is there any buzz around town for the Raptors? I'm not really noticing much, but are you noticing anyone really getting on the Raptors wagon and getting excited?
No, not particularly. I don't know. I'm not too down with the sports with the Raptors guys. But how are they doing?
They're doing pretty well. Like, I mean, they're second or third in the Eastern Conference. I think second, a few games back from Milwaukee. I think he didn't want us to like he knows I've watched a little bit of basketball, but I don't really know it in depth. I don't think he wanted much. He didn't want us to analyse the team's form because he's smart enough to do it himself. He just wanted to know, like, because we actually live in the city, are you feeling like
a Raptors buzz?
Yeah, any Raptors buzz around the city?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I don't know. No.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I said to him, but I thought that maybe because you have a slightly different social circle than me, I'd get your point of view on it as opposed to just writing him off on Facebook and not even mentioning it. But shout out to Rob for watching. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, most of the people I hang out with are not basketball fans.
Yeah. I kind of figure that the buzz around that will probably start a lot more when playoff time actually hits.
Yeah. Like, and then everybody's coming up with jerseys.
Yeah.
And everybody's jumping on the bandwagon.
But it's also one of those things that the Raptors have had 2 or 3 recent, like, pretty good regular seasons, like with sort of close to 60 wins or out of 80, so...
82, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought you didn't know. That's testing you, see? He does know, he's just not letting on.
Yeah.
So they've kind of... The people in Toronto have seen, like, the regular season success before, and now they're a little bit like, don't care anymore, show me it come playoff time.
Yeah.
And, like, so the team's kind of been rotating their lineup a lot.
Ever since the Cavs, performing well in the regular season, Cavs and Warriors performing well in the regular season is no indicator of guaranteed championship.
Exactly. So, like, there's a little bit of angst amongst Raptor Nation because of past playoff failures, and also like the team's been kind of rotated a lot with the latest trade acquisitions. They haven't had a steady starting 5, so they're kind of like, so I think people start getting a little more hype towards the playoffs. But there's a lot of different sports happening in the city, and there's so much else. There's so many different things to see and do here. But make no mistake, it's like a Leaf city, so that's like where the buzz kind of, with the Leafs being quite good, I did feel that buzz, but now the Leafs have had like a little run where they've had lost sort of 4 out of the last 6 games, and the Bruins, who they're inevitably going to meet in the first round, have been like playing incredibly well. So even like Leaf Nation is starting to like, their buzz is starting to wear down a little before playoff time. But Rob, I'll update you if Raptor Nation starts going off.
Who's his favorite Raptors? Oh, Raptor.
I don't actually know.
Jeremy Lin?
No, Rob's not an Asian dude.
Well, just because he's not Asian doesn't mean he can't be a fan of the sexiest Asian basketball player in the NBA.
I was a fan.
/ the only.
Yeah. I was a fan of Jeremy Lin when he was a member of the Knicks. Lin's sanity was fun.
Yeah, and then he was gone.
He's kind of bounced around quite a few different teams. I don't actually know who Rob's favourite Raptor is. If you're watching this, Rob, let us know in the comments section. We'll shout you out again next week. I don't even know if Rob's a Raptor fan. I think he's just a basketball fan in general and just was like, oh, Toronto's doing well, wanted to know how it's going in the city. So, yeah, so that's...
When's the next sporting thing that you're going to see?
I've got like back-to-back ones coming up this week, actually, so that's why I think I mentioned that... Did I mention that I think I told you before the podcast, so I can't remember what I told you.
Saturday. No, Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. But I just trying to remember what I said on the podcast and what I said off it. So I told Nick, our latest blue belt, I'll see you at training on Thursday. And I forgot that I was going to the Blue Jays home opener. So I'm going to the Blue Jays home opener on Thursday, which still seems absurd to me that I'm going to go watch baseball and it'll be like maybe 7.
So out of all the fucking sports that you like, can you rank them? Like top 3? Maybe top 5 because you like so many?
It's reasonably easy. Like football, as in like soccer, football, and hockey are kind of pretty much my joint 1/1 and 2.
Not rugby.
No, rugby's kind of like, I mean, I like rugby because I'm a New Zealander, but it's like
it's blasphemy.
A little bit down the list, yeah. And I always joke with people, I'm like, would I actually like rugby? You know how it's weird that I'm a hockey obsessed Kiwi. I'm like, would I be interested in rugby if I was born and raised in the non-rugby country, or is it just because I'm kind of from there?
Do you like these sports because they're so different from the sports that you grow up with? Is that one of the reasons you think?
I don't know. I think like there's probably like links to. I mean, hockey and football are different in a lot of ways, but there's kind of a lot of links to them in the way that like, well, one, you got to put a projectile in like a goal area, and the sort of things that the interplay to create space to make that happen is similar. But hockey's a lot faster and more physical.
There's no real like out of bounds, right?
Yeah, no out of bounds in hockey. And yeah, so I think those two might have some common elements, but like I like rugby and I like rugby league. Rugby league is really similar to rugby. If you don't know rugby or rugby league, you just
is that like sevens?
No, sevens is like different again, but there's union rules, but just with less people on the field. But again, rugby and rugby league are so similar that if you don't follow either sport, you just look at them both on TV and think they're the same thing, to be completely honest. But
I thought they were the same thing, they sound like the same thing.
Yeah, exactly, and people kind of confuse them pretty easily. Like, the full names are Rugby Union and Rugby League, and people call Rugby Union just Rugby, and people call Rugby League just League. So, there's, like, you know, and there's a weird example where, like, the Rugby League, the competition is called the National Rugby League, whereas it should really be called the National Rugby League in Australia, because there's this guy who came from Australia and tried to make it in the NFL. He kind of made pre-season squads and then didn't really make the team when the regular season started. But all the ESPN commentators were calling him a rugby player, and he's actually a league player. But I guess it'd be because they saw that he played in the National Rugby League, and they'd be like, oh, of course it's the National Rugby League, like we have the National Hockey League. Whereas for that, it should be the National League. And then that'll probably confuse people even more.
Uncultured.
Yeah. Exactly, but
common sense. I mean,
you know, so probably favourite sports would be like hockey, football, and then rugby league, and like.
So rugby's third. That's not bad. That's pretty high up.
Well, rugby league, and then kind of rugby league. You know, the different one to. Sorry, just confusing already. It's hard to round out a top 5, but those are probably my top 3, and then like cricket, which is like the colonial version of baseball, which is. It's similar in that it's a bat and ball game, but it's completely different in every other way.
Fighting?
Well, yeah, shit. Obviously, that's obvious. I'm like losing my mind here. In fact, now it probably is like, rugby league actually probably gets pushed down. Like it's probably like, hockey, football, combat sports. If I'm just gonna I can just throw like BJJ and mixed martial arts into the one umbrella. Holy shit! I just that reminded me of something. I should be reciprocal and throw back to you. I also like basketball as well. I should be reciprocal to you, but I know that you're mainly like combat sport guy. But did you hear that Connor McGregor's tried to throw the retirement buzz out there again?
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I was more thinking that you were going to talk about like criticizing Connor McGregor for.
Well, I kind of am with this. Like he sent a tweet either last night or today saying, I've retired from. And these were his exact words. He said, I've retired from the sport formerly known as mixed martial arts. And he put up the quotation marks and everything. And it's clearly bullshit. Like, I'll get out a knife and fork, and not this hat, 'cause I like it, but maybe a shittier hat that I don't like. I'll get out like a knife and fork and eat it. But yeah, he pretended to retire before UFC 200 when he was meant to fight at UFC 200, and he was clearly like using that as leverage to get more money out of Uncle Dana.
Yeah, he's such a man. Say what you want about him, but he's a master social media guy.
Yeah, he's a master shit stirrer, master shit talker, and like a master promoter. But he's definitely not a retired fighter. He's as soon as he gets more money out of Uncle Dana, he's back on the horse. But yeah, I won't talk about it too much because you don't follow the UFC as much as I don't want to bore you, but he basically like there's rumours that he is going to be fighting at the UFC event in Vegas in July, which is their big signature event of the year is their fight week, and they always try and put on a big card for that. There's rumours of him fighting Cerrone, there's rumours of him fighting other people, but basically because he won't have a title shot with Khabib because of Khabib's suspension, Dana doesn't want the main event to be a non-title fight, and Connor's like, I'm Connor McGregor, I'm the main event, what are you talking about? Like, who cares if there's a title fight or whatnot? And so Dana wanted whoever's Connor fighting to be the co-main event, but still the second to last fight of the night. And Connor's like, no, suck my balls, I want the biggest pay-per-view money, I want to be fight of the night. So now Connor's pulling the old, I'm retired then, basically trying.
I've always been fascinated by the relationship between sports fans and the sports that they watch.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fan of like artsy fartsy shit, right?
Yeah.
I like concerts and shit. Not even so. I don't like concert just a concert. I like concerts for people that I know and people that I admire. And admire is a special word. Admire is when someone is better than you and you still like them.
Yeah.
So I would go I bought tickets to see Smashing Pumpkins because I admire their work and I'm trying to do it my way, but I also want to see how they do it and learn from them. So I was wondering, are there sports fans who don't play the sport and love the game a lot? And because you mentioned you watch so many, you can't have time to play all the sports that you like. So and you like some of the sports that you don't play yourself too much, right?
I think it's become it's something that just becomes ingrained in you if you start at an early age. Because I've joked around other people who are more artsy and don't follow sport as well, that as an adult, I fully see how ridiculous sports fandom is. But because I bought into it for such a young age, I'm still here and this is who I am. I get it. I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I hadn't been to Pittsburgh until I actually went to watch a hockey game. So not even from that city.
Do you play hockey regularly? No.
I used to. I played for a few years growing up, and then I played for a few years recently. But I haven't had time with the comedy and the BJJ. I've had to put it aside for now. But yeah, a lot of those sports I have played growing up, rugby not so much. Played it for a little bit here and there, but football I played all the way I was growing up. Hockey I played. Combat sports I do BJJ now, but no, I think sports fandom is just something that gets ingrained in you when you're young, and your brain doesn't have the ability to be why do I care about a bunch of strangers who just happen to Jerry Seinfeld's gag was you're just cheering for laundry.
Yeah.
Especially
it's wearing the right clothes.
Professional American teams are all from different states and they come from far around.
But
I think in New Zealand it's slowly changing in New Zealand now, but when I started following sport,
I get world events. I get World Cups because you're cheering for your country.
Yeah, but even in New Zealand, when I started growing up,
racist undertones though.
Yeah, the All Blacks are called the All Blacks because that's the colour of their uniform. Yeah. It's not a racial thing. I should lay that out there. No, but in New Zealand when I was growing up, rugby was still an amateur sport when I grew up. So all the people who played for Auckland versus Canterbury, they were all from that city, and when someone moved, it was a massive deal. I remember one guy moved from the Waikato team to Canterbury, and everyone was like, "What? How the hell could he move?" And it was amateur sport, but it was literally because he got a business opportunity in another city, and his professional life had to take him to another city. Well, I shouldn't say he was a farmer, not a professional. But,
Well, because to me, when I'm watching something, anything whether it's comedy, a movie, a concert, sports, when something is truly magnificent and spectacular, it moves me to a point where I want to do it.
Yeah.
When I see comedy that's so great, I want to do it, and I can, or I can try, or if I see a concert or listen to music, this is so great that I want to put myself in it. Yeah. So if that's how I got into basketball.
That's what happens. That's also what happened to me when I was watching sport when I was young. And the thing is, when you are young, you don't have a grasp of how long the commitment actually takes. You'll see all these people doing it, and you're just I'm going to go kick a soccer ball out in the schoolyard, and then I'm going to become as good as that guy. You don't know all the hours it takes. So you do see all the sports, and you're I want to be like that guy. So you throw a rugby ball for 10 minutes thinking it's going to make you like that guy, and you do have the time to do all of them when you're a kid, and then it just fandom gets ingrained. And now it's kind of more Now.
So what do you gain when you watch something like that? Well, like, what is the high? That
Sometimes there is like that sense of community, 'cause especially with Twitter. I'm still in touch with Penguins fans, so sometimes there's a sense of community, whether it is a team representing your city or whether you're just able to stay in touch with people and form an arbitrary community. Sometimes it is just the whole like, this is entertainment to me, like, if you know enough about the sport to appreciate their technique. Sometimes it's just like, again, an excuse to get together with friends, which is the whole sense of community thing again. It's like sometimes sport can be quite tribal, and it gets a sense of community, and like, so that's why sometimes it becomes quite irrational because of that sense of community. Like you feel like happy about the achievements that these complete strangers have. You feel happy about their achievements when realistically, like, it was nothing to do with you. I mean, you could argue that for some of these sporting teams, through the money I've spent on merchandise, I'm like, hey, I helped to pay for one of their skates. I'm part of that now.
Yeah. It's like an investment.
Yeah, exactly.
You're invested in
it a little, and I kind of know, as an adult, I know how ridiculous and how silly it is, but, whatever, I'm here now.
As long as you're aware.
And it is what it is. But now it's just kind of something I do for fun and, like, sake of. But sometimes you still get, that's the thing about sports, sometimes you get, as objective as I am now, and as ridiculous as I get it is, sometimes you just get caught up in the moment, you get swept in the emotion. We should probably start wrapping this up, but I wanted to end on one thing. Did you hear about Bohemian Rhapsody getting released in China? The movie?
What about it?
The Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie, got released in mainland China with all the gay stuff
cut out,
taken out.
Really?
Yeah. Which, when you're telling the story of Freddie Mercury, is
the gayest guy in the world.
Yeah, you're like cutting out a lot of the movie.
Well, there wasn't that much gay stuff.
I haven't actually seen the movie.
Yeah,
but apparently they cut out like one full scene. Like, what's the music video where they cross-dress?
I Want to Break Free.
Yeah, they cut out like the whole scene where they're making that video and doing that video, and I think they cut out any references to AIDS as well, which is kind of weird because it's like quite an important part of the movie. I would have thought
it's quite an important part of China.
Yeah.
China actually has a pretty big AIDS problem.
Well, that's what happens when you won't let people talk about things. It becomes a problem because they don't know how to not have it.
Yeah.
You're constantly censoring them from it.
Yeah.
So that was like my little nugget, is seeing if you heard what was. I mean, it's not really Joachim's Hong Kong, but the mainland. But
well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
China is getting out of hand right now with the censorship, dictatorship.
Yeah, I've heard all about that. What's up, Kimmer? You got a topic for us to talk about? Cat here's my life now, because my roommates have got 2 cats.
How's the new living situation?
It's cool. They're still. It's a really good neighbourhood, and they're good people, so pretty happy with it. All their friends that they invite around for dinner or whatever are good people too, so good times. Have you got any topic to take us out on?
Today I was feel more like a backseat kind of podcaster, so
it's alright.
Good that you took over so well.
I'm going to take like the bigger share of our no money. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, follow us both on our social media, which will be in like the information section of this video. Os.